We're out here building a rally track. What is up, Rap Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. I'm going to give you guys the complete rundown on the Banana, and I'm going to try to keep this pretty quick. So, I apologize if I talk fast. Feel free to rewind and rewatch if you need to. But, this is my 1980 RX7 vintage rally car. I say vintage because it is old, and it's definitely one of the older ones when you compete. I raced this car twice in 2017. I crashed it in my second event and busted up the front end, and then basically got busy with life, bought a house, graduated college, etc. And the car kind of sat, at least I guess we'll say, it didn't really sit, I just didn't race it. So, now that we're back here at the Rad Ranch, you know, got a real job doing this YouTube thing, and figured I'd tell you all about it. I don't want to repeat myself. Anyways, so, 1980 RX7, stock port 12A, Holley carburetor, Racing Beat header, Racing Beat rotor muffler. It has a 2.5-inch resonator under it, but nothing special. The transmission is a RX8 6-speed. It is a Series 1 transmission, so not the big fancy one. However, those transmissions kick butt at shifting at over like 8,000 RPM, whereas the stock 5-speeds really hate shifting at over 7,500, so that transmission's killer. It also allows you to run the bigger clutch, so this has just a stock Turbo 2 stock RX8 clutch in it. It's a bigger diameter, so you get more grab, and it really helps when you're like beating the snot out of it. So a little bit of history on the car. It was built in the 90s in Atlanta. It was originally yellow and with a red interior, and it was also always called the Banana because that's how I gained the name from it. I contacted the original owners. It was raced there for a while, kind of got parked, got raced again in Arkansas by a guy named Scott Justice. It always had a Bridgeport 12A in it, and these are the actual plates, the original motor plates from the build, so I'm going to build another engine with these soon. And then it always had this big Weber carburetor, which is the one that's on my Bridgeport car. And I was able to talk the guy I got the car from out of those parts afterwards, but basically I got it from a guy in Oklahoma who had a bunch of these things. That's actually who I got the white one from too. And he was going to race it in Group 5, which is boosted. He was going to have it boosted and stuff, Turbo 2 swap. And I got it from him and kind of took it back apart and sold some stuff, and then put a 12A in it from my daily driver at the time, and I went and raced it. So my debut rally was Southern Ohio Forest Rally, which you can see those are the stickers I left on it. And it was great. I finished middle of the field, but for your first rally, finishing is a big accomplishment. So I was stoked to have gotten that done. My second rally was Show Me Rally in Missouri, and I had an ignition coil go down on me, so I was low on power. I think it was my leading coil. It was barely running, and it would come in and out. So I just kind of kept limping along, and there was a long straight with a left-hander up a hill, and I threw it in the corner and gave it gas, and it fell on its face. It caught the rear end and put me straight into a ditch. And yeah, I didn't really like super trash the car, but the car wouldn't start. I was stuck in a ditch, and my front suspension was pretty bent up. So I limped it back to service after the safety guy pulled me out, and we just called it after that. We were halfway through the event. I didn't want to tear myself or the car up more. So that's kind of my rally history, but the car obviously has seen a lot more beat on it than what I have done, although I do tear it up pretty good because that's the whole point of having a race car is to tear it up. So, suspension setup, GSLSE, complete swap, extended lower control arms in the front, 1 inch. It gives you a mad amount of negative camber, but you need that for rally. And in the rear, instead of the 410 limited slip, it has a 488 limited slip in the rear. So basically, to put that into perspective, at 5,500 RPM in 6th gear of my RX8 transmission, I'm going 55 miles an hour. Fun fact, with these tiny tires and the gear reduction and all that stuff, it just doesn't work for a good street car. But you can't drive it on the street. You do have to between your stages. So this does maintain turn signals, wipers, reverse lights, horn, headlights, brake lights. Anything you'd have to have to be street legal, you have to have in a rally car. So mirrors and stuff, because this does have to be tagged and insured to race it. So, moving more towards the front of the vehicle, the car does have a 10-point roll cage instead of like a 6-point. So this bar here ties into the main down tubes of the cage there. The strut towers are reinforced, as is the frame rails, and then the strut tower is tied into the very front of the car here. So it does drive. It is very rigid when you do drive it. It rattles a lot, which is fine for an old car. Instead of running your standard strut brace across the top of the towers, this car has one built into the cage here. Basically, these two bolts come off. You take off the front little supports, which these are really only here to hold up my oil cooler, and that thing pops right out of the way. And it keeps the engine bay very serviceable. You don't have a bar running across the top of your alternator. You don't have to worry about the strut brace when you're dropping suspension parts off, you know, in service if you bust a strut up or something like that. Very, very serviceable is key for these things. For the brakes, we are running 2 Wilwood separate master cylinders, one for the rear and one for the front. There is a bias bar inside the car that moves back and forth to be able to push one way or the other, and you can reach under to adjust it. Stock clutch setup. With the RX8 transmission, you do have to run the RX8 clutch slave cylinder. This is the oil block-off plate for the oil filter, like stock location, and this is my external oil filter. MSD blaster coils. The oil cooler is mounted here, which works fairly well. On a long hot stage it will get warm, but it doesn't ever get terribly warm, and I preferred to put it there versus underneath the front, like down in the grill down here, because it's just not going to get beat up and tore up by rocks and worry about losing oil pressure. So with this big old radiator, which is a dual pass, so inlet here, down through, back out the same side, so it's like 2 radiators. The car stays very cool when full kill is engaged, and that helps keep my oil temps down, which is very nice. So the lights on the front, we got 4. They're not Hello lights. What the heck are they? They're 4 KC highlighters, 2 Rigid Industries LEDs, and honestly, the LEDs are what really does the job. The KCs are just up there to look cool. It's on a quick disconnect, so I can pop the 2 bolts off, unplug the wires, and they just come right off. I use trailer harnesses to hook them up. They're like $3.99, dude, and you can just hook them up. Bam, bam, quick disconnects for all the wires you'd ever need instead of getting fancy connectors, you know. Easy to do, you can't mess up plugging them in. So that's the setup up there. In the rear of the car, this does not have a stock fuel tank. This has a fuel-safe 15-gallon fuel cell in the back. It's basically just a bladder inside of a steel cage, and I have 2 Deechworks pumps in there running in parallel, so you can see the 2 lines here and here that are tied together to my main feed, and then my return coming back. Those pumps are wired, so I have a switch up under the dash, and I can turn them to change between the pumps. The whole thing with that is the redundancy. Should one pump fail, we can put another one in there. My spare tire mounts here, and I made this fancy little spare tire retainer bar. So I welded a socket to the end of a General Motors tire iron, had to modify the end of it a bit, welded it to a nut. You screw this down, it holds the spare tire, and you can also use it to crank your jack up and to take your lug nuts off. All in one deal. So, moving to the interior. We got black doors because you're supposed to have 3 methods of side impact protection. I only had 2 door bars. The factory doors that came with this car, i.e. on the wall, did not have any of this. So they were literally completely gutted all the way out. No impact bar, no nothing, no window, and that wouldn't pass. So I had to buy a whole nother RX7 to get these doors on the night before of my first rally, because I went to tech inspection. They're like, no, you can't run this. Even though we know you're not going to be the fastest guy, but you are a newbie, so you're probably going to crash. Luckily, proved them wrong. My doors stayed intact, but I kind of dig the black door look. So that was the night before the rally fix. Good stuff. On the inside, this thing is a classic. Okay, I did not change much of this dash at all. I just rewired it pretty much completely. Pro Comp Monster Tack, gotta have it. Shift light up there in the corner. If that thing isn't on for the entirety of your stage, you're doing it wrong with a Rotary. Set the thing to 7800, keep the light on. With the 6-speed, it helps. You can really stay in the power band. Over here, we've got main cutoff, mechanical oil pressure, mechanical water temperature gauge, mechanical oil temperature gauge over here. Assorted switches and stuff. I do not know. I could not figure out what the extra cheese switch ever did. However, I do not have it hooked up to anything. These are right here are my lights, the middle lights, the KCs, and then this little guy up here is my LEDs, and you can see they're super bright. Fan, spooling up, and then my service lights, which are super cool. So in the past, owners had mounted 2 lights in the cabin so that if you need to work inside here, you can. You turn those on and off. And then also with the RX8 transmission, there is no wires ran to it at all. So these are my reverse lights. So whenever you're in tech inspection and they ask you, put it in reverse, you flip the switch on and they come on, you flip the switch off, they go off. Air horns. You might ask, why is the horn button here? Well, when you pass the spectator stage, it's best for me as a driver to not have to let go of my steering wheel to hit the horn button in the middle. So it is my dad's job as the co-driver to blare the horn whenever we're passing spectator stages. And let me tell you, this thing gets a good rise out of spectators. It's pretty good. It blows flames and it's fun. Key thing too as a co-driver, if you're running a night stage, you need a way to see the stage at night. This right here is a map light. Comes on, my dad can read his stage notes. Works great. The zip tie can be cut and you can move the map light wherever you need to, but it's also almost always zip tied up because we rarely run night stages, and in the 2 rallies I ran, didn't have to use it. Previous owner / modified put a good old screwdriver knob on here. I like it. Keeps, it's a familiar thing to have in my hand, so it's nice to have. Factory handbrake. Generally with the low horsepower cars, having a handbrake helps, but you can also just use like trail braking or like a quick downshift and just let the RPMs peg and it'll drag you into a corner nice. I like this little piece of aluminum that I have mounted here to hold pens, which is very nice for that. And then we run a TerraTrip intercom up there which plugs into your helmet so you can chat to each other. Let's see, what am I missing? I don't really think that there's much I'm missing after all of that. I mean, that's kind of the lowdown on the rally car. You can 100% comment below and ask me any questions. I do know a lot of the history of the car if you want to know like previous owners' names, the guys who built it, some of the events it's ran. I've got the full logbook and everything for it. No, it is not for sale. I will probably keep this one forever just because it's a great car to have around to beat on. It looks sick. As far as I know, it's the only yellow SA rally car in the States. I know there's a guy in Canada that has a yellow one as well, but he's got a giant like cookie on the front of it. He's a super cool dude and that car is really sick, but I think it's white now. But yeah, that's the build breakdown for, not really stealing the Hoonigan's term, but that's the substance of what the rally car's made of. We got the good old signature, the banana on the top, and rocking the Starion wheels with the black doors. You always be able to find me or see me in stage or at Park Exposé. So, and with that, I hope to catch you guys in the next video, and thanks for tuning in for the walk around of the banana. So we'll definitely do some more stuff. I got plans. We're gonna build a big old jump in the yard, and we're gonna send this thing off of it. So if you like what you see, more RX7, more Rotary content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I do a good mix of like how-to videos and also just documenting stuff that I do on my own cars. And I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.
That's lap 1 of the rally track before we actually groom it and make it good.
Alright, that's the move.
How's it feel?
That feels sick.
Sweet.
That's sick. You'll like that.
Alright, good deal.
Alright, Justin, what are we doing?
Prepping for yard rally.
Putting the battery tie down on for the first time in a while. We got our sweet fuel pump wire right there.
Puddle.
I'm gonna put these belts in here real quick. I think they should be pretty easy because they're clip-ons. You see the little eyelets down there. So we get the belts in. We gotta top it off with coolant. She's got oil, and this one should be good to go.
We need to come up with a name for this.
Which one? The video?
Rad Ranch Yard Rally. Like an annual event.
We do. We should have that. But does that mean that I have to own? Does that mean that I have to own more than one rally car, or not?
Bring the white ant down here.
Yeah, he's got a lift Miata.
We'll donate that to the Rad Ranch Rally Foundation.
Yeah, for the summers. So the yellow car, the banana, which you've kind of seen, kind of not. Full-blown Ripper, 12A, Holly, big radiator, rally spec. I've raced this one twice. Second time put it in the ditch. It happens. So the front suspension's a little out of alignment still, but it'll be fine for ripping around here in like second gear. We are ready. I pre-ran the course as you saw just a little bit ago. I've mowed the course into the yard. We've got GoPros, the whole deal. It should be really fun. We're just gonna take the day, hopefully not work on anything too much, and go crazy. And there's gonna be another video with the silver car, so go check out that because she's underway right now, but it'll be done soon. I think we're golden. We're ready to race. Ready to rip?
Always.
You gonna ride? We're gonna do a couple test rounds here. Make sure the course is good and this car is good, and then once I know that this car is good, then I'll let them drive it and I'll run this one a couple times, and we'll just shoot some stuff while we're effing around. So keep on watching. All right, folks, Calvin here. We're doing a little toying around in Eric's front yard. So we'll see how this goes. We kind of halfway made a custom track to test out the rally cars on. So I believe we're getting ready to start. Oh, detour, slight detour.